Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's Jonathan Harmon with the J. Harmon Home Team, powered by Keller Williams. And I've got this fascinating pamphlet in front of me, but I'm going to set it here because I keep looking at it instead of focusing on what I'm actually saying. Welcome to Table Talk, where there is always a seat at the table. I've got two awesome human beings sitting here with me. We're going to get to them here in 1 second. But first, I got to do a little business. My friend Bryan Nale with First Horizon Bank. Trent, I don't know if you saw this, but he is in the top 10 in the nation for loan originators.
I didn't see that.
In his particular group. He posted it the other day, and I'm not surprised at all. He is one incredible person and very good loan officer. And he also supports Spread the Positive.
Yes, sir.
Which we love. And,
thank you, Bryan.
That's right.
Always, thank you.
We love you, Bryan. Thank you for what you do and for supporting our community and helping to spread the positive. Now,
hi there.
So y'all, it has been a week. I've got a new staff member starting on my real estate team, and I have realized there are things that I'm good at, and there are things that I am not. I am not good at training people how to do the job that I need them to do. I'm just not good at it. It's
harder than people you realize.
Oh, it's terrible. I handed her a list and I was like, here you go. And then she's like, well, how do you do this? And I'm like, well, you just do it. And I'm like, well, that's not very good training, is it?
No. That's not training at all, actually.
No, it's pretty lazy, to be honest. So Michelle, I apologize. You guys will all get a chance to meet Michelle pretty soon. She doesn't know it, but she's going to be on this podcast. So Michelle's awesome. But anyway, so I'm exhausted from that, and I've got a little head cold going on. And anyway, so if I'm a little loopy today, I apologize to you two. Not to Trent, though.
No.
I've known you long enough. I'll give you a little grace.
That is so true. So without further ado, I've got my friend Susan Gulley over here. How you doing?
I'm great.
Yeah? Yeah, I'm loving the pink hair.
Thank you.
It's fantastic. If I had hair, I might try to do that. Maybe the beard.
Yeah, I just think you should do a little, just a little sliver.
Like on the side, though. Yeah. Not up the center. We don't want to be too...
Listen, it opens up so many conversations I never dreamed. I mean, I just did it for the heck of it to do it. And walking down the street, in the grocery store, wherever I might be, somebody's like, I love that. They're at different ages, like 70s and 14.
I would be my daughter's hero if I had a little teal stripe right here on my chin. So that might happen. And then we've got Dr. Antoinette Van Zilmz. Yes?
Yes, Van Zelm.
No S. Darn it. I almost had it. I just met Dr. Van Zelm this afternoon, and I'm already completely fascinated with her and her work. So you're a professor at MTSU?
I am the assistant director of the MTSU Center for Historic Preservation.
Even better. So you don't have to sit in classrooms all the time, do you?
I don't know.
That's awesome. I'm jealous.
Some people love that, My husband is a professor, so
crazy people love that.
Yes.
So I was a high school teacher, which is not the same, obviously. Okay. And the teaching process is fun, but when you just don't feel like doing it, you just don't feel like doing it. So you have that option of, I'm going to go over here and archive some stuff and write an amazing
I have never known
brochure.
Antoinette not to want to talk about history.
Really?
No.
Man. Well, kudos to you. So anyway, so we're beating around the bush. We got a lot of cool stuff to talk about because you guys have been working on some things for a couple of years now. And the culminating moment, I believe is what we called it off camera, is happening this weekend.
Friday,
a
Saturday,
couple days
Sunday.
from now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, over at Patterson Park in the theater inside.
Yes.
Patterson
Washington
Park.
Theater.
I couldn't think of the name of it. Yep. And so let's start from the beginning. Let's start with this. Okay. I keep playing with this and I love this thing. Sure. And I'm going to keep this if that's okay.
Please do.
Okay.
Yes,
great.
Please
I'm
do.
going to read the whole thing before I go to bed tonight. But what is this brochure? Where can somebody get it? Yes. And start talking, and I know you wrote it, but I want you to tell us the importance of this, because this is a very important document, and it's led to a whole lot of important work.
Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that. I think it's important. It started back in 2010, and the first version of this brochure came out. And the point of it was to draw attention to women's history sites in our county, and also to have people take the opportunity to look at uh, traditional historic sites and say, what is it about that site that involved women? For example, the Rutherford County Courthouse, which is on the National Register of Historic Places, is a fabulous example of an antebellum courthouse, and it's still in use today. Has a brand new museum that y'all can visit.
Which is awesome, by the way, if you haven't toured it.
Yes, yes. And so one way to think about women there at that courthouse is to think about the preservation of the courthouse. And we know that Sarah McKellie King and others in Murfreesboro were very, very influential in saying, no, we're not going to tear it down. We're going to restore it. And so, today we have one of 6 remaining antebellum courthouses in the whole state. So it's fabulous.
Really? It's only, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was a way to look at different sites in the county and give people an idea of some of the prominent women and what they've achieved. And, also just to, like I said, look at sites, for example, Bradley Academy is an awesome African-American site that was an African-American school for decades. But the classroom in there is named after Myrtle Glanton Lord, who went to Bradley and then also taught at Bradley and was a phenomenal teacher and leader, a community activist here in Murfreesboro. So that was the point of the brochure in 2010, was to bring attention to these women and to the sites. But then when we came closer to 2020, which was the centennial of the passage of the 19th Amendment, giving women the right to vote, I got involved with the Leading Ladies of Rutherford County project, and I did some research. And based on some of my additional research, I updated this brochure. And so this version just came out in 2020 and has some of that information about local suffragists and some other stories that hadn't been in the previous brochure. So,
well, one thing that I heard this many years ago, and I think it's important to anytime that it's relevant to bring up, and that is the fact, this is a pamphlet about women's history in Rutherford County. Okay, you've included some African American women, some different influential folks, different races, different social strata, all of the above.
Right.
The reality of it is women's history, African American history, Asian American history, whatever, is American history.
Oh, definitely.
And so when we look at where we are, how we got here, it has all these different subcategories, if you will. And unfortunately, they've not always been equally represented, or let's say, we're not even gonna say equally, because equally is a weird word anyway when it comes to history, right? They've not been adequately represented in the history books, in the textbooks that we have in our classrooms, probably even to this day. And, some of that is there's space requirements. I mean, you'd have to have a textbook that's this tall, I get that. But some of it is also, I hesitate to say purposeful, but at least at some point it was purposeful.
Well, right. And just having a different perspective and taking that to a traditional historic site and thinking, what were women doing at this time? Is just another way to look at our historic landscape and to think about what was happening. So I think we still need, brochures like this and trails and other, ways for the public to learn more about all aspects of our history, and particularly, as you mentioned so well, aspects that in the past just didn't get attention because they weren't considered important. But we know today that all the voices need to be brought into play and to listen to and to hear about and give people a sense of their place in our community.
Because the reality is history is valuable when you have it as context, right? History is context. Okay. So, why do we have, I can't even fill in the blank, all kinds of stuff and you can give a simple answer, but then that simple answer has all kinds of things that were happening around it at the same time. So if we talk about the Civil War, okay, the Civil War happened because of this, and this, right? These people fought these people in this place, okay? But meanwhile, what was going on around it? There were people that lived in that area, right? So that's context. There were people that were at home where the soldiers came from, and that's context. There were, I mean,
well, and you don't think about writing history, or you're making history when you're living it. We're making history right now, actually.
Right.
We made history pandemic time.
Absolutely.
So you don't think about that until you read it in your history book in school 15 years from now.
Absolutely. And I think that's why it's so important for us to realize that these stories, they're not just side stories. They're not just, color commentation or commentary like you would have on a football game. This is history. This is part of how, all of these people, they influenced other folks, whether it was men or women or other races or whatever, the politicians, everybody else.
For example, what was the lady's name who had the history with the Rutherford Health Department?
Maud Ferguson.
So we wouldn't have a Rutherford County Health Department, correct me if I'm speaking this incorrectly,
right?
Without her leading the way.
Yeah.
So
she was she was the one who is believed to have suggested that the county apply for funding through the Commonwealth Fund of New York, and that began a child health demonstration unit here in Murfreesboro, which was considered very rural at the time. This is the 1920s, and it was rural. And but a fascinating thing about Maud Ferguson is that she wrote a memoir, which you can access online. I mean, our technology today lets us access these people's voices, and it's so wonderful. And she wrote a memoir talking about, how she learned to drive when she got here in 3 days so that she could go out and visit people, because she was a public health nurse. And she was only the second one here in Rutherford County. And so
without her, there would be no county health. Or would have taken a much longer time for that to come around.
Right.
So we just think we just go down the street, go to the hospital, go, wherever we need to go to be taken care of. But somebody had to plow the road.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And the fact that it happened earlier, I mean, you could probably start to go, well, because that happened when that happened, we were able to do this.
Right.
And that's why we're ahead of this county. And that, and then you start.
It's a puzzle.
It is.
Right.
It is.
And I mean, people came from all over the country and even abroad to train. You were talking about training earlier, to train here in Murfreesboro and Rutherford County, because we had this cutting edge rural health department. And so, but people today don't really know that, so it's just great to be able to provide that context and to say, hey, we really had a significant role in the development of rural health.
Yeah.
And so,
which is, like you said, it's global.
Right.
I mean, that's a thing everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
And another, one of the women who's going to be in the play this weekend, or portrayed in the play, is Mary Ellen Vaughan, who was an African-American nurse. She was also a journalist, and she worked with Maud Ferguson, and she would spread the health information and do a lot of the activities among the African-American community, because of course, in the 1920s, you're talking segregation. So you've got pretty rigid division between the races there. So
if you ever wondered who Vaughan Street was named after, now you know.
There you go. I love that. So let's go back, take a step backwards real quick. So the project, the Leading Ladies project, started in 2020, correct? Ish, leading
late
toward
2019.
it. Yeah, leading towards it. And the idea being that there's a lot of stuff that happened that, again, it's left out and it provides context, but specifically it was inspired through the Tennessee being talk to me about that.
So Antoinette's talking about history. I'm here talking about cultural arts and performance arts. And so, how did those two twine together? Right. So there is a lady in town. Her name is Andrea Lowry, and she was being honored at the Center for the Arts as an Art Advocate of the Year. And she had started learning some of these stories. She's not a big historian. She will confess, excuse me, that has not in the past been her forte. Now she is, but and she just said there's lots of things that some women in Rutherford County have done through history, and it would be fabulous if somebody would write a play about it. Well, lo and behold, she was also on the Tennessee Arts Commission, and she had a friend who was also on the Tennessee Arts Commission who is a playwright, and her name is Mary Donna Johnson. And now we have a play that was written specially for Rutherford County. So being the Rutherford Arts Alliance, which is a nonprofit here in Rutherford County, we're only 3 years old. It seems like much longer than 3 years, especially when you throw in pandemic that we kind of hyper through, right?
Word.
So
yeah, it was like the slowest, longest year at the same time.
The slowest, longest decade.
Slowest, shortest. Yeah,
exactly.
It was bizarre.
So we started doing a play. And so we thought, well, we're going to have to write a play, and then we'll have to find actors, and that'll be performance. So that's art, and it's about local history. So that can become a tourism development part. So the other hat that I wear, as well as the chair of the Rutherford Arts Alliance, is I am the director of cultural art and heritage for the Chamber of Commerce Convention and Visitors Bureau. It's a big, long, I get my tongue wrapped around it wrong every time, but the CVB, Convention and Visitors Bureau, which is tourism. So between those two things and the history department at the Heritage Center, we just decided we'd collaborate. And then things happened, and we couldn't get the play produced and on the stage in August of 2020 to be at the same time as the celebration for women's right to vote.
Which I think we said off camera, but I don't think we said on camera. Excuse me. Yeah. Sorry. Tennessee was the state that was number 36 to get it passed. Right. So minus Tennessee, women's suffrage may not have passed when it did.
Right. The at that time, there were 48 states, and for an amendment to be ratified and become part of the Constitution, 3/4 of the states had to ratify. And so they were at 35 in, I believe, the spring of 1920. And there were two possibilities that the movement thought might come through. One was Delaware and one was Tennessee.
We beat out Delaware.
Delaware didn't. They voted it down.
Outstanding.
And so then,
I don't like that state anyway.
And so everybody started to focus on Tennessee, and in the summer of 1920, the forces were both staying at the Hermitage Hotel in Nashville.
For and against, men and women.
Nice.
Yes. Nice. And so. By one vote, the vote of Harry Byrne of Nyota, the Senate passed it overwhelmingly, but the Tennessee House took a few tries, and then by one vote, that passed the House. And so then the governor could sign it into law, and then it would become the law of the land, so to speak. So it's,
and what's so cool about that too is he
exciting.
Was going to vote no. So they had red flowers and yellow flowers on their lapels, yellow for yes, red for no. And he was going to vote no. And he received a letter from his mother. And basically it said, do the right thing. And guess who voted yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mom. Yeah. Thank you for speaking logic into his
Thank
brain.
you, son, for listening to Mom.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. And he had voted to table the amendment till the next year, and so but then they took another vote, and that's when he went on the yays side. So and there's some great video of him being interviewed later in life and talking about his vote and everything. And he struggled. I mean, he was trying to represent his constituents, and he was trying to get a beat on what they wanted. And he felt like they were kind of divided, and so he was kind of divided. And so, but yeah, that letter from his mother, which is in the Tennessee State Library and Archives, and it's a wonderful letter. And so she told him to do the right thing, and he did.
That's great.
Yeah.
So that provided, again, the backdrop for the movement forward with the project. And I actually spoke with Andrea not too long ago, and one of the things that she said is that the delay due to COVID actually, in a lot of ways, helped the project because it developed into something much bigger than what it was going to start. So I know that it's a multifaceted project.
Mhm.
There's a lot of writing, there's a lot of interviews and things of that nature. So
I'll
take
speak
it
to
from
that.
there.
So, what started out as a play that would take about 9 months, get it written, put it together, research it, and then perform it. Then turned into a tribe of women and a few men that have helped along the way, and now we're this adopted family with each other because we then created a website. So we have the Leading Ladies Rutherford.com website.
We'll put that in our comments.
Yeah, thank you. You can also get to it from the Rutherford Arts Alliance website, but there's stories on there about the women that have been chosen. And obviously there's so many women that could
Sure.
be represented. We just tried really hard to pick a good spread of ethnics and social levels and all the different things. And then so those are represented on the website. There's also a place where you could put your own story. So if there's somebody in your life that
That's
has
cool.
done something really cool or has been a leader in your family or in their workplace or whatever, and you want to submit your own story, then it's always open. Submit your story. We'll also put it up, so people can learn about that as well. Additional research has happened. There's a walking trail now. There's some brochures now. There's a possibility of school field trips, should that become a thing again, hopefully.
Right.
So the play this weekend is a three performance weekend. It's not just for adults, it's not just for history people. It's got lots of humor. I saw it last night. I got to sit through last night and help with a little costuming, some other things that are going on. I cried, I laughed. There's just so much, but there's color sheets for kids. So, they can learn about these ladies because, one day they might be that person.
That's right.
So there's just a lot of facets to it,
and I think
a lot of collaboration.
And I think that's why I love that we have this, why we have the website with the archive, and you can submit your own story and all of that. And I think that's why it chaps my hide so much that history books leave entire swaths of people out. Is that history, again, it provides context for how we got where we are, but it also provides inspiration,
It does.
and I might not be inspired by a bald white dude. I mean, I just might not. And I mean, I am a bald white dude, but I might not be inspired by them, but I might be inspired by, somebody that rose from a much lower socioeconomic strata, that maybe, faced racial tensions, that maybe, I mean, all of the things that people overcame to still be leaders in our history. That's the kind of stuff that might inspire me.
Well, and we also, there's a mural also, actually.
I was about to ask about that.
So we don't want you to be confused, because all of the ladies that are in the brochure are not necessarily in the play. All of the ladies on the mural are not necessarily in the play. So they're not just a carbon copy of each, avenue.
It's not 12 people and that's it.
It's not just 12 people. Matter of fact, the mural, which is on the backside of Maple Street Medical Center, which is David Hopkins' building, right there off the square. There's 10 from Rutherford County. Their names are not on there, so you kind of have to go to the website to see the clues. There's 10 on there. There's a selfie station section. So number 12 is a selfie spot, because it could be you.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be a lady, but it could be you.
Sure.
But then when we finished the mural was when Justice Ruth passed away from the Supreme Court. So we just had to put her on there. So she's not from Rutherford County. So please don't think she's from Rutherford County. However, she's pretty influential.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to find that mural, by the way, if you come out of Civic Plaza, out of City Hall, and you walk down the steps that are closest to Broad Street.
Yes.
It's
right next to Sugary's.
But it's behind it.
Yes, it's behind it.
So if you walk down those steps from Civic Plaza that are closest to Broad Street and cross Vine, and you start back towards the square and you look up,
yes,
you will see it.
Yes. And it's kind of nice because there's just a gravel area right there. So it's not really a parking area. So it's usually available.
Yep. And it's a beautiful mural. Did a good job on that. So,
well, and I just wanted to, follow up with something that Susan said too, is that, we never intended this, because on the website we've got 25 women that are listed as our leading ladies. I think we've got 8 women that have been suggested to us for the Share Your Story. And so, but we are not at all by any means saying those are the only important
Absolutely
women
not.
in Rutherford County history at all. We wanted to try to choose a representative sample, and we did include some women who, Sarah Childress Polk was from Rutherford County and she was the first lady. So, there were just some people that it was like, yeah, we really, we have to include her. Anyway, just we want to inspire people and get them to do more research and look into these women in more detail. We've linked on the website a lot of primary sources. So I mentioned earlier Maud Ferguson's memoir. Well, you can click a link on there and go right to that memoir and read about what she had to say. We have Sarah Spence DeBow, who was one of the suffragists that we found out about from here. She also wrote a memoir. It's funny and fascinating how she kept trying to convince Senator Andrew Todd from here in Murfreesboro to vote for suffrage, and he would kind of waver, and so they would go visit him every few weeks or so. And I mean, she was, Carrie Chapman Catt, who is like the leader of the suffrage movement, who got it over the top. When she came to Tennessee, she wanted to talk to Sarah Spence DeBow to find out how things were going with Andrew Todd. So it's just really cool.
There's just there's some enslaved women represented. Also, there's one of the funny ones that I like is Mary Kate Patterson. I don't necessarily agree with, her history and the things that she did, but she was really good friends with Sam Davis. But what I like about her, she was spunky. I mean, she had this cape that she would, she was very prom and proper or whatever looking. However, she carried, medicine hidden in her clothing, under her floorboard in her buggy. She was a spy. There's just all kinds of things. And you can go to her house in Laverne still. You can't go in the house, but the house is there.
Yeah.
So there's some places in this brochure. I think there's some place everywhere, right? If you're in the walking trail for the footsteps of notable women, there's an actual physical place that you can go, right?
Right.
Some of the women in the play or in the website, they're not necessarily have a place any longer, but maybe they were at the women's club at one point in time, or they represented the Rutherford Health Department at one point in time. So we don't have their house necessarily, but some of them we do, like Kate Patterson.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I think it's important. You said that the website is obviously not an exhaustive list.
No.
And I think that's what I like about this is this is an important project that will continue to be important and will continue to be relevant, will continue to grow.
Right.
The likelihood of us ever getting all of them on there.
Never.
Let
me just answer that now.
It's not going to happen.
And we were very, very on purpose about doing only people that were no longer living.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes. No, that's
probably a good. That's probably a good call.
However, in the play, they're all together, even though they weren't necessarily all in the same day.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
very cool.
Yeah. But when Andrea Lowry, had this idea about the play and she, asked me, she said, well, who were some of the suffragists from Murfreesboro? And I knew about suffragists from Tennessee, but I didn't know about any specific suffragists from Murfreesboro, or Rutherford County. So I was like, well, I'll do some research, Andrea. And that's when I discovered some women like Annie Brawley Jackson and Sarah Spence DeBow, whom I just referred to. And Annie Brawley Jackson is going to be in the play, and she worked for the railroad. She was a freight clerk, but she was also a suffragist, and she was she did a lot up in Nashville to support the movement.
But not all of them in the play were suffragists.
Right,
Yes.
Right. We have Willie Betty Newman, the artist, and she
very famous artist.
Yes. And she and Will Allen Dromgoole, who was a writer from here, they were both featured in a newspaper article in the Tennessean. I think it was in 1910, or somewhere in that decade, when they were asked about women's suffrage. And Will Allen Dromgoole gave 10 reasons why women should have the vote. And the playwright actually has incorporated those into the play.
They have a little spiff in the play. Let me just say there's a little tension that happens between the two of them.
Yes, yes. But Willie Betty Newman, even though she was a prominent artist and had made her way sort of on her own, and she was married at one point, but not for very long. But she argued that women did not need to be in the civic sphere, that their husbands, fathers, brothers, sons would represent them there, and so that, that was the anti-suffragist argument, that women would sort of be corrupted by being in the public and civic arena. So anyway, she followed that argument. So
I did not know that there were women anti.
You would think everybody.
Yeah.
Right. No.
It's always more complicated than we think.
Yeah. I just learned something, y'all.
Once you dive into the history, it's always more complicated and less black and white. But
so
anyway.
History, should we be excited about seeing something about history? I was wondering at the beginning. Yeah, but it is very entertaining. Very entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so I told you guys when you got here, we went to New York City and saw Hamilton on stage, and we'd watched it several times on Disney Plus or whatever, and my kids love it. And I mean, it, we're really into it, and the music is completely cemented in my brain. I can't stop hearing all the. Anyway.
Have you learned anything from it?
Well, so that's what's really interesting is my natural curiosity after watching it, and I knew context, right? I knew sort of what was going on. I didn't know exactly the story. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I started asking the question to Dr. Google, is how accurate is the play, and come to find out, I mean, there's a little artistic license, of course, in it. I doubt that they rapped when they put the group together, but maybe they did. I mean, who knows?
We don't know.
But by and large, the events in there are very accurate. And so the entertainment aspect of it got the curiosity going. Right. Which got me to look and learn the as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story.
Well, and that's the bigger picture of this whole project, actually. So it's the desire for dialogue. Mm-hmm. So yes, we've got history meshing with art, which is amazing, and then we've got. So MTSU is helping, the city of Murfreesboro is involved, City TV is involved, the chamber is involved. African American Heritage Society. Mm-hmm. There's just so many different aspects that are putting their hand in the pot to help make this soup, right? Basically. And then along the way, it's like, okay, wait a minute. So what do you think about your history and what you've been taught, and what have I been taught, and what have I learned? Where are the things that are not necessarily meshing? Where's the conversation dialogue that we can open up and have? And that's one of the things, history sometimes can be, you can't change it. It's history for a reason, for us to learn from it, to be better going forward.
But it can be uncomfortable.
It can be very uncomfortable. It can be celebratory. It can be not great at all. I mean, there's just, both levels. Art is really great, whether it's performance art, visual art, music, writing, whatever it is a really good way to make a possibly uncomfortable atmosphere more palatable. Mm-hmm. So, just like Hamilton, would you have sat down and, necessarily, unless you really loved history, you might not ever have really delved into Hamilton story, right? I don't know how old you are.
I'm old.
Okay. Yeah. You're not 16 any longer, right? So, but you don't really know all that much about Hamilton, right? So that's what I love. It doesn't have to be, to be an artist or to be cultural arts, you don't have to be somebody sitting on a stage singing all the time. You don't have to be only the person painting all the time.
And it doesn't have to be a lecture.
No, it might be poetry. It might be landscape. It might be culinary.
It might be a well put together archive or a museum or
Right.
a
putting
mural.
all those puzzles together so that we just have a more better dialogue and conversation and a reason to be hanging out, right?
Yeah. Well, and just the exposure of people that were important, that got things done, that made things happen. Why do we have a health department? You know what I mean? Like that
Right.
building just was always there, right?
Yeah, it just
and
happened to be
somebody
there.
just,
And that's what so many think nowadays, really. So we don't know what we're doing, making history now. We feel like everything's been invented already. Well, no, everything has not
even
been
close.
Nowhere close. And so that's inspirational to the ones that are growing up right now and in school or just recently graduated. What can I do to give back? What can I do to make it a better place to be hanging out every day?
Yeah.
And so we're actually going to have on, there's still tickets available, by the way, for Saturday night at 7:30 or Sunday afternoon at 3. And then Sunday afternoon, right immediately after the play, plays only about 65 to 70 minutes long. So just a little over an hour. We're going to have a community dialogue. So you can ask the playwright anything you want, or the actors.
You're going to be on stage for that?
Yes,
she's available. Yeah, she's got
it.
way more information than I can give.
I love it.
So just not long, 15, 20 minutes, something like that. So come,
maybe
bring.
If it gets good,
well, it could
keep
be.
it going.
I would love it, actually.
Yeah.
And we're not afraid of any conversation. So, we might not have the answer right today, but let's open the door.
Yeah.
And just as Susan mentioned earlier, collaboration, and this has just been such a cool collaborative creative project. And Mary Donnay Johnson, who wrote the play, she basically borrowed from me 2 tote bags of folders of my research for this brochure, just and then she did some research on her own. There's a recent biography that's gotten a lot of good reviews, a recent biography of Sarah Childress Polk, and Mary Johnson read that, and she ended up adding a character to the play that had not been on our original list, of leading ladies. She added Mariah, and Mariah was a young woman who was enslaved by the Childress family. And then when Sarah Childress married James Polk, she went with her from Murfreesboro to Columbia. And at one point, she was sent back to Murfreesboro, but then she fled back, to Columbia. And so there's some interesting history there, and it's in that biography. And so Mary Johnson added Mariah as a character to the play. And so that she's got
pretty powerful.
Yeah, it is. It's
That's
a powerful aspect of the play.
Well, y'all, I am so excited about this. I'm excited about the play. I'm excited about. I told you I'm going to read this tonight. It is. I flipped.
I'll give
through
you his phone number. You can call him tomorrow and see if
I'll take the quiz. I'll do it.
You asked earlier where people can get this
Yes.
Brochure, and they can get it at the Heritage Center downtown, which is at 225 West College, and that's a partnership between our MTSU Center for Historic Preservation and the Main Street of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County
Share a building there.
Yeah, share a building. Got brochures available there, but they're also available if you are out Susan's way at the chamber.
Yeah, at the Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce and the Visitor Center. And the hope is people will pick these up, or they'll go to the website. They'll come and visit. They'll come see some of these places that are on the walking trail or the driving trail. They'll go to the mural. They'll stay and eat. They'll spend the night. They'll get to know Rutherford County. They don't necessarily have to move here. It's okay if they do. I know we have so many already moving here, but we all live in Middle Tennessee. It's pretty great.
If you do decide to move here, I know a great real estate agent and a great lender, so we can help you with that.
And we know a great university if you have kids.
Outstanding university. That's right.
Definitely.
Well, y'all, I appreciate what you've done. I appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate what will continue to happen with this. I'm excited about the play and all the effort that's gone into this, and just the important work of curating and archiving and documenting the stories. And
it's been fun.
I mean,
it's been exhausting, but it's been fun.
And the work is not done.
Oh no.
So there's lots more that can be added to. We could have we could have part 2 of the play potentially.
Oh, we could go on the road.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Maybe I'll write a musical.
That would be fantastic. I would buy a ticket for that.
I'm never one to say let's not try it. Let's try it. I mean, your daughter could be the next leading lady.
She could. She definitely could. She's got enough fire in her belly, that's for sure. So go to the play. There's tickets available still for Saturday and Sunday.
Friday night sold out, which is also the VIP reception, which will be donors and sponsors and all the people that's helped us bring this together and raise money for the Rutherford Arts Alliance so we can do more stuff. Because this project's not the end. It's just putting a little bow on it and moving to another project.
That's right.
And then there are tickets available still for Saturday night at 7:30.
Where do they get tickets?
Go to the RutherfordArtAlliance.org website and then look for the Leading Ladies link there. We don't want to confuse anybody. The Center for the Arts are handling the ticketing software. So they're also a partner, but you can't go to the Center for the Arts site. Does that make sense?
It does.
Because it's not one of their
and
places.
it's not at the Center for the Arts.
No, it's not. It's at Patterson Park, which I've spent so much time at Patterson Park now. I love it.
Yeah.
So now I got new friends.
Yep. It's a great spot.
And then Sunday afternoon at 3.
Okay. Well, very good. We'll put some links in the comments. And if you want to click on those and get some tickets, there's still tickets available.
Can I say one more thing real quick?
Of course.
So Rutherford Arts Alliance is open to everybody. It's just an art advocacy, any kind of creativity. We have a meeting once a month and we just try to connect visual artists and culinary people and landscape people, fiber people, musicians, whatever your genre is that you love to do, just have a conversation and do more in the county.
Very good.
And we do have this available as well online. MTSUHistPres.org is our website, and we've got our partnership projects. A whole lot of materials are on there for you to take a look at anytime.
And I'm hoping you guys will have some of these at the play.
We will have some. They are kind of going fast, to be honest. So we'll have to do a reprint sometime soon, I think.
I think we might.
And just to throw a little bean out there, America 250 is coming up. So
yeah,
how do you say it? The semi-quincentennial.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. So just 250th birthday. That's what I can say.
There you go.
So there's another bit. You got a few years to get your head wrapped around that.
What color is that? I mean, silver is 25, gold is 50.
Rainbow? I don't know.
I don't even know. All of the colors.
Maybe. But the last time there was the bicentennial one was when Cannonsboro was built.
Right, 1976. I remember marching in a parade
so
back in the day. But yeah, 2026.
Yeah. So
keep
listening. You might hear something else.
Okay, I like it. I like the teaser.
Thanks for having us.
All right, very good. Hey, again, Bryan Nale. If you need him for a mortgage, give him a shout. If you need help with real estate, give me a shout. If you've got some really good allergy remedies, give me a shout on that as well.
Or something positive, give Trent a shout.
If you want to spread something positive, not spread positive germs, not make people positive for things. That's not what we're talking about. But hit my friend Trent up and let's get your story recorded.
Yeah. What Jonathan said. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. That was great.
Have a great rest of the week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.